Let's go on an adventure today with my pups and me as we do a flip through of my 77th journal. Hi everyone, Patty here. The story I'm about to narrate is my own story, not AI generated or edited, so there may be some grammar and spelling issues. I don't claim to be an English major. I just love a good story while I show you my latest journal. This is my story of an adventure my pups and I are on searching for the extinct smoky quartz mushroom. I only reveal the complete story in between the journal pages. If you want to find out if we find the mushroom, you need to purchase this one-of-a-kind journal. Let's get started with the story. The sound of the rain falls softly against the window, making the morning such a pleasure as I watch the sunrise sitting and enjoying my cup of hibiscus tea that my pups and I went and picked just now. The pups crawl into my lap and add to my warmth as I drink my hot tea. Picking my own herbs from the garden makes the tea taste much more enjoyable as I think of the events of the last couple of weeks. In fact, it was just about 2 weeks ago that Donna Prescott, the head of the local botanical society, approached me with a very interesting arrangement. It seems that their office had reports of several sightings of a crystal quartz mushroom. Now, usually one seeing a mushroom is hardly newsworthy, but in this instance the mushroom was the crystal quartz mushroom, a species that had been thought extinct for over 200 years. This brought two very important factors into play. One, this crystal quartz mushroom had been sought after for generations for its beauty and one-of-a-kind color and texture. History books by artists and herbalists could be easily found writing about and referring to the crystal quartz mushroom as far back as the early 1700s, and some say even much older than that. The second is knowing that the crystal quartz mushroom had been thought extinct as of the late 1700s raised some interesting questions, and while to the casual observer this seems much to do about a mushroom, those in both the artistic world and especially in the world of botany know that it is true that the crystal quartz mushroom is still out there, that it would be an incredible event, that a once thought of species being extinct would be a career-changing discovery. Even more than that, because of its unique attributes in the artistic world and the very rare availability of this specimen, the financial rewards of a find of just a few of these special mushrooms could be off the charts. The pups shifting in my laps bring me back to the present, and thinking about hunting for the crystal quartz mushroom fit right into my life and business. As I sip on my tea, I can't help but realize how much this all ties together. All this leads me to getting my mushroom journal out, where I have all of my recordings of locations, dates, and drawings of the specimens over the years that I have forged. These are vital to finding the location of our smoky iridescent Panellus species that is iridescent and shimmers in the evening just when the sun is just starting to set. Some bioluminescent fungus has a smoky dull appearance but glows. These bioluminescents are typically described as green or yellow glowing, not iridescent. If we find a smoky color that shimmered with rainbows, it will almost certainly be our smoky quartz crystal mushroom, which will be a rare find. Picking herbs from the garden is very enjoyable, but it is just one of the many places I find herbs and plants and other wonders of nature that help me in my art and craft projects. I've always had a great affection for using things and living off the land. Growing up on my parents' 55 acres farm, I found many ways of interacting with nature, and having brought that to all aspects of my life, such as eating and drinking natural products from the land or using nature's art store to help me create my projects. The projects I'm working on now are journals for my business, and using my imagination and nature's resource, I can take my journaling creations in many different directions. But this year there will be a bonus for our adventure. After our recent visit from Donna Prescott, the local head of the Botanical Society, she has made a follow-up visit, this time with a more exciting offer. She has made it quite clear that if we find and secure a specimen of the crystal quartz mushroom, that she will use the Botanical Society organization to publish all of the findings, giving all the accolades and notary to the one who rediscovers this one-of-a-kind specimen. Mrs. Prescott has made it clear that the Society will receive much of the attention, along with her and her position that were instrumental in this very important rediscovery. But Mrs. Prescott, most deserving praise and recognition will be for the one who finds and delivers a true specimen, healthy and vibrant in all of its wonderful colors and textures, with documentation of the finding, location, and habitat. This prestigious praise and recognition would come in the form of being published in several scientific journals and many reference material publications, along with a grant for research in plant and herbal studies. Perhaps the most prestigious reward, at least in their eyes, would be a membership in the Botanical Society with an honorable seat on the council for 1 year. She pointed out that while this might seem quite a bit, she assures me that rediscovering an extinct specimen is something that is very rare indeed. Donna then pauses for a moment and then makes what seems to be a disclaimer. There are a couple of things you should understand. All these benefits and rewards we have been discussing will go to the first person or persons to find our little treasure, the crystal quartz mushroom. And perhaps the most important thing to remember is there are individuals out there seeking this mushroom not for scientific benefits of rediscovery, a specimen thought to be extinct, but rather for the financial gains such an item would bring even through illegally. There are many individuals with great wealth that would use their influence and money to obtain this specimen for the color, texture, and notary of adding this rare item to a painting or other artist project that would make its value priceless. So with this all in mind and so many others looking for the mushroom, it's time for the pups and I to lay out a plan for our search pattern. We have studied the terrain where they like to grow. Some believe that they grow in dry areas such as steeps or low-lying grasslands, and others think they grow in more mountainous areas. And all of this will make interesting trips, seeing as I have grown up as a farm girl and we lived in a semi-grassland area. This greatly influences my life. Then when my parents retired, I stayed on the property and my parents moved to the coast, where I spend much time every year visiting and opening a brand new palette of colors and textures and natural resources that greatly expand my horizons. Being so involved in nature, I have looked back to history and others that have lived their lives from the nature and wonderful beauty that surrounds them, have been so heavenly influenced by their attachment to the world and its wonders. And I have been most impressed by those who have drawn from their natural environments and the things that are readily for use in nature. It is amazing how many times we find special specimens that appear rarely throughout time, such as these mushrooms that we are looking for. I believe that the wonders of the earth, rather colors, textures, and shapes in nature, are far more beautiful and creative than those synthetic ones that one might buy at your local big box store. This is one of the main reasons finding and preserving this mushroom has become so important. As I sit and finish my tea, the pups are ready for their walk as soon as I set my cup down. The pups and I pull out our maps. We will be ready for any type of terrain. We agree that our first trip should be to a mountain range. That is a bit of a drive as we pack our supplies for a day's outing to a valley about 2 hours' drive from home. There is a river running through this valley that has an elk herd of a couple hundred. We have taken this trip before and found most of our inspiration and natural produce down a trail just a few miles from where we can park, parking right below the snow cap, where we can take several trails that lead to all kinds of new and wonderful findings. It should be interesting to see how many of our fellow foragers we run into, as many think the mushroom could be a favorite delicacy of the elk. As we pulled into the parking lot, the rain stopped and the pups were put on their leashes. I grab my backpack and we head up a trail toward a little lake. Even the red mud along the river makes such a lovely hue. I collect a vial of the river mud and keep going. Hiking along the trail, we come to the opening of a meadow where we see several elk grazing. The wildflowers are just beginning to bloom, and the array of colors brings the meadow to life. A little way up the hillside there is a streak of yellow flowers that makes a natural mustard-colored ink that I have used in many of my projects. But so far no sign of any of this special mushroom we are looking for. We have seen a man and a woman out on the trail, but cannot tell whether they are looking for the mushroom or just out enjoying the trail. The elk graze on the grass that is very familiar to a grass that one would think of if one were looking at a wheat field. This grass produces a color of ink that is very similar to flesh tones and that of a sandy beach. One just needs to take the time to look around and see all of the different mediums that nature offers. It doesn't take long to realize that my pups and I have already been here for several hours. I lay down my backpack and roll out a blanket and bring out lunch. Don't think the dogs will let me spread it out before they start eating. But once we get our portion in front of us, we sit back and all have a relaxing lunch. As the pups enjoy their meals, I take out my journal and draw the surrounding landscape, of which right next to me is Sweet Annie. Sweet Annie is sometimes called sweet wormwood, sweet sagewort, and annual mugwort. Its botanical name is Artemisia anna, with small yellow flowers. It contains flavonoids and essential oils. The stem has an erect brownish violet-brown color formation. The scent of the leaves has an intensive aromatic smell. After being out all day long, the sun starts slowly setting against the skyline, and after asking the pup's opinion, we decided it's time to head back to the car. We head out as it starts to turn dusk, a couple hours home, and we will be ready for a peaceful night rest after a long day on the trail. The next morning, I'm awakened with a wet kiss and the pups letting me know it's time for tea. As we sit and enjoy our morning routines, I begin to plan how I will use all the collections from yesterday that we will make lake pigments for our watercolors. I prepare the flowers and herbs by soaking them to be ready to work with them at a later time. This time of the year, there are so many plants and herbs blooming as they come to life and give their most vibrant and beautiful colors to my palette for all the different inks and watercolors that I will use all year long. Before heading out on another adventure, gathering more of nature's supplies, I go back through all of my different mediums and shake some and stir others to make sure they are creating the most intense colors that I can get from the plant. It's amazing how many different items that you collect over the year need to be taken care of in different ways. Today, as we look at our map and look for a drive that is within an hour or two from home, we decide on a juniper forest in the middle of the desert. This has not only been one of my favorite spots to collect wonderful specimens that I can use in my creations, but I have always been in awe how evergreens can grow in the middle of the desert. Time to see what the pups want to pack for lunch and see if there'll be any room in the backpack for something for me to eat. We load up and head out on the road, and it looks like it is going to be another beautiful day. We have heard through the grapevine that a few hikers have seen a unique mushroom in the juniper forest area. As we pull into the forest area, we get out of the car and can hear the meadowlarks singing to one another. They seem to be alive with the same energy and inspiration that me and my traveling companions are filled with. Under the junipers, there grows a brown and blue moss that makes for wonderful ink with just a hint of purple when made into a lake pigment. The junipers have berries that make a blue color we named juniper blue for our watercolor collection. I collect a few of these berries and add them to my specimen bag. We look over the area and find no signs of the mushroom we are looking for, but once again, in a place we have came to many times, there are never any other foragers around, but this time there is a couple, but they look strangely familiar to the ones that we saw on our trip to the mountain. Oh well, we will see if they will turn up again as the day begins to turn to night. We decide to head home. We start down the road and we round a turn, and there in the middle of the road is a cougar who is dragging a fresh kill into the woods. The dogs get very excited, and I must pull over to calm them down before we continue down the road. I don't know if I've explained this earlier or not, but my dogs are a 25-pound miniature schnauzer and a 25-pound miniature doodle, and while they think they're very tough, they are hardly cougar fighting material, but they are great at hugs and kisses. We arrive home and we unload our specimens, and we are home early enough to put our specimens away and have a snack. The morning arrives with a sense of excitement and new possibilities, as rumors of the mushrooms being found around a lake in a mountainous pass only an hour and a half from home. We load our car with our supplies and head out for the mountain pass and a small lake that we have been to before, but this is probably the second or third time. We begin our trip up the pass, and it starts to rain, and by the time we reach the lake, it is a steady downpour. I put on my rain gear and harness up the pups, and we head out to look for the elusive mushroom. When we're about halfway around the lake, we run into our mysterious couple. They don't see us at first, and we see the mushrooms that they are collecting, and they are not of the right variety, and we start to tell them, but we have taken them by surprise, and their reaction is one of hiding their findings from us. As we begin to speak up, they tell us that perhaps we should mind our own business and look elsewhere. So we decide to keep our information to ourselves and do just that. We look for another hour or two and find nothing that would continue our search for the mushrooms we are looking for. We head back down from the hill and drive out of the rain and into sunshine, making for a much more pleasant drive home. We decide to stop by a small creek that we haven't been to in years. We pull out our meal and begin to eat. The pups start to act excited or agitated as they sniff the air, and I begin to wonder what they sense when I too get a hint of a smoky aroma. The pups and I wonder what this smell of smoke is coming from. Is there a fire nearby? Are we in danger? We are not sure what this means. If you want to find out the dramatic conclusion, you'll have to read it in the rest of the journal, which you can find in my Etsy shop at www.westmeadowgardens.com. Bye now.